What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Hope you're all doing well today. So it would appear that very often now I get asked for what suspension I'm running, and the common answer usually is it's not mine, so I can't really give it out. And I thought, you know what, I get asked so much, I'll slide into Aiden's DM, who is the creator of this suspension, so all, I guess, round of applauses and thank yous and everything go to him for this. I know nothing about suspensions. I literally copy what other people do or just ride what people send me. So if you want setups for any other bikes, I'm not the man to come to, unfortunately. I do not know what I'm doing. I just ride what I get told to ride. So massive shout out to Aiden for even sending me this just before the season started. And this is the setup that I've used from round one. You know, this works very well across all of Stone Rider's recent Supercross tracks, whether it's Rust or Aerial Test Track. Not tried it too much on the new Start Your Systems one, but I mean, feel free to give it a go. But then Anaheim 1 worked really well, Houston worked really well, not Houston, that's not the one. San Francisco worked really well, and I just can't see myself making any changes to it. So all of the gameplay in the background that you see is all pre-recorded. This isn't live commentary at all, I'm just talking after the fact. And you know what? We like getting videos to the 8-minute mark so we can get some decent mid-rolls in there as well. So I apologise for the very long introduction. You've got my new direct lean settings now. You will now have my suspension. I do just want to preface before this setup does not instantly turn you into a god at the game by any means. You still have to put a lot of time and effort into learning the game full stop. But it's a very good base, I feel. It's it's softer than some people's setups that I've found. It gets through the whoops very nicely for me, and it's very good when it comes to casing jumps as well. If you come up a bit short, it lets you ride away fairly often. The only downside that I've found on this setup compared to a couple others that I've tried is if you are someone who is not particularly good at throttle control anyway, this one might not be the best for you because the rear end can be a little bit slidey sometimes. So just a little bit of a warning there. So what we're going to go off, we're going to go through slide by slide as we're riding around in the background here, and I'm pretty sure the footage that you saw, I was just running like consistent 56s or so, and then I started messing around towards the end and making some mistakes. But on the very first page, on the general page, I run 5 litres of fuel. This is always the case for me, unless I'm running qualifying laps. I run 5 litres for all the races, heat races, etc. And when it's a qualifying session, I will put it down to 1 litre of fuel. I'm not going to do the conversion for you guys into gallons or whatever it is because I don't use Freedom units. I use rest of the world units, so get good. Reason for it is less fuel, lighter your bike is, faster you go, saves you a couple attempts over the course of the lap. The tyres, front tyre seems to be a bit of a personal choice for people these days. I have been enjoying the 80 on the front over the 90, mostly just because I haven't given the 90 much love at all. But there's people inside my friend circle that use the 90 tyre and really enjoy it. So mess around with that if you want. That one is all personal preference. However, for the 450, I think the 120 rear tyre is the best way to go. It gives you the most grip around the corners, and it does give you a little bit of extra resistance on the straight, so it will slow you down a bit. But because the 450s are so fast anyway, and you kind of carry so much momentum around the track, it really doesn't hinder you much, I've found. So 120, definitely the way to go there. Tyre pressure, I believe that's stock. I believe it's 12.3 and then 12.0. But I could be mistaken, but that is what I got sent. That's what I run. Feels good to me. Tyre pressure is not something that I mess around with very often. And then for the leverage and such, it's just maximize them as much as possible so you can brake as hard as you can. So if we move along to the suspension now, I probably should have put the screenshot alongside the default so you can see everything that's changed, but I'm just going to list them off. So if you've got this up on your other monitor or you're just listening, you can change your settings as we go. So for front suspension, we go 5.7 on the spring, 17 on the bump, 21 on the rebound, 5 on the preload, and 100 on the oil. For the rear suspension, we are going 42 on the spring, 19 for the slow bump, 3.5 turns on fast bump, 8 rebound, and 4 preload. Then if we move over to the drivetrain, this is the one where I feel like I vary quite a bit from others. This is not how it was sent to me. I believe it was sent to me fully stock, which is something like 1351-ish, close to that. However, I changed it for one reason and one reason only. That is the quad-in at Anaheim 1. I always found that second gear kind of revved out too quickly, and then third gear would bog for me, so I made the gearing a little bit shorter, and I've now gone to 1354. What this does for me is in corners where you have like a big quad coming out of the corner, you want to ride the entire turn in third gear, because it gives you a decent amount of power from pulling away, but then also gives you enough room to accelerate the whole way around without running out of steam. And then on tracks like San Francisco, for example, I found myself in a lot of those, I guess, tighter ruts, and even through the rhythm sections as well, even dropping down into second gear, because it gives you a lot of acceleration, a lot of oomph to try and get up and over those mid-rhythm quads. And another thing this setup is good at is if you do kind of come up a tiny bit short or you get out of rhythm, it's good at enabling you to get back into a rhythm. So if you can just try and get a triple out of nowhere, it is very, very good for that. Mess around with gearing. Gearing is all personal preference. I am not here to tell you what is a good and is a bad gearing. People ride the game very, very differently. If you want to ride around the track in first and second gear, you can do. If you want to ride around the track in fourth and fifth gear, you can do. It's completely up to you. And then moving over to the others, I am always clueless on this page. I always run aggressive mapping and such. I just feel like it gets, you know, gets the RPMs up higher, gets you moving quicker. Then everything else is a bit weird. So I always know like swing arm makes the bike feel a bit longer, makes it feel a bit more stable, so on and so forth. Fork height is how far the bars, I guess, are dropped through. So it's the amount of fork that's sticking out the top through the triple clamps. So I guess the higher the number, the lower the clamps are, which means the higher essentially the handlebars are, which helps you turn tighter. That's my knowledge of that. I hope that's correct. But anyway, it's 24 fork offset, 8 fork height, 6 swing arm length, and 152 rod length with aggressive mapping. This is what I've been running since Anaheim 1 now. Obviously with that little gearing change, that was since Anaheim 1. It has got me a 3rd place and a 2nd place so far. Sorry for the spoilers if you haven't seen them streams yet. And I feel like I've been really consistent on it. It's a good setup for kind of knowing what it's going to throw at you. It's not too erratic at all. You know what you're going to get out of it. The only time it might bite you in the bum every now and then is if you enter the whoops really, really poorly. You do have to focus on how you really hit that 2nd and 3rd whoop to get yourself set up for the rest of the rhythm section. But I think it's a big W. It's helped me. It's not for everybody. I know, so when I was practicing with Charlie, for example, and even Aiden as well, he's said this on a few tracks. He doesn't run this on every track, just depends on the type. But Charlie made his own setup, which is quite a bit stiffer than Aiden's one that I'm running here. And Charlie prefers his one, and I prefer Aiden's one out of the two. So it definitely does come to personal preference and riding style also. You could even find that the softer setup may cause you a little bit of time throughout your laps, whereas a stiffer one might be able to take them harder impacts a bit better and maybe keep you a little bit more planted. Maybe that's just where I try and go over, like, for consistency rather than speed throughout the main events, and it's done me okay so far. Gets me out the gate fine, gets me to survive them first few laps from consistency, and then just try and bring it home for a decent podium position. So you've been asking for it long enough. I asked Aiden, he said it was okay to do this for you. So again, make sure you thank him down in the comments down below. And yeah, that'll wrap it up for me. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Please do drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'd really appreciate it. Have a lovely rest of the day, wherever you're up to, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.
I'm working hard, I'm sacrificing my life, I'm sacrificing my mind, I'm sacrificing my sanity, but most importantly, I'm sacrificing my time. Boy, I feel fine, I feel like I am a king. Honestly, I can't complain. Even with faith that's the size of a grain of some salt, I will still move a mountain and do what I want. I got salt to be.